Okay, so we are on part 1, which is Karma Yoga, and we are discussing chapter 1, which is observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And in chapter 1, we already discussed the first 2 sections, and until verse number 11. So today we'll take on the next section, which is from verse number 12 to 19, blowing of conch shells, which signifies the signs of victory for Pandavas. And also we'll cover next section. We'll try to cover, Krishna willing, from verse number 20 to 27, which is known as Arjuna observes the armies. Okay, and then in the next class we'll cover the rest of the verses, which is Arjuna's reason for not fighting this battle of Kurukshetra. Okay, um, so today's section is blowing of conch shells. Okay, so we move on to the verse number 1.12. Will anyone like to read the Sanskrit shloka? Okay, I will read. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha simmanadam vinadhyoche shankam dadumach pratapavan. Will anyone like to read the translation? If you have kids around with you, it will be always good for kids to read the translation also, yeah? Or anyone can read.
I would like to read.
Go ahead, Anvi, yeah.
Then Bhishma, the great valiant grand designer of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like a roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy.
Right. So after uh, Duryodhana's talk about diplomacy and politics, Bhishma almost stopped Duryodhana. You know, Bhishma wanted to stop him from all this politicking, all this diplomacy. He said, "Enough is enough," right? And Bhishma is actually one of the great Mahajans. He's a pure devotee. He's a pure devotee of Krishna. He knew that Krishna is the absolute truth, right? We recited that shloka, Eshe ve Bhagavan Sakshat Adyo Narayan Apaman, Maya Mohan Lokam, right? Gunas Charati Vrishnishi. So this verse was spoken by Bhishma Pitama, uh, that this person, although he looks an ordinary person, he's just roaming between, all the Vrishnis, but he is Adi Narayana. He's Sakshat Bhagavan, right? He's the original Narayan. So Bhishma was a pure devotee of Krishna, right? And as a devotee, Bhishma was eager to see how Krishna, even though odds were against Pandavas, is going to protect the Pandavas, right? Um, so this was important. Like he was excited, and one of the names of Krishna is Parthasarthi, right? And actually, Bhishma was very excited to see this form of Krishna, you know, as a Parthasarthi. So that was again another reason. And in this shloka, I want to highlight some specific words like uh, Bhishma Pitama has been highlighted as Pratapavan, right? Now, Van, you might have heard we call people as Dhanwan, we call Bhagavan. So Van means someone who possesses, right? And Pratap, what is Pratap means valor, right? So he was valorous. And also in this verse, he is highlighted as Simhanadam, right? He had a courage of a lion, right? He was extremely powerful. And in the elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, if I'm not wrong, in the 10th chapter, Krishna, when he compares, I am this, he compares of the animals, I'm lion, right? So uh, here it is highlighted specifically that how Bhishma was so powerful, so valorous, right? And through Bhishma, Krishna wanted to establish one thing, that however powerful you are, however strong you are, however virtuous you are, but if you are on the side of a religion, right? If you are favoring a religion, then you will be defeated, right? So Bhishma actually, as I said, that he wanted to stop all these politicking of Duryodhana, right? So he just, without saying a word, he blew his conch shell, and actually he wanted to indirectly inform his grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory because Lord Krishna was on the side of Pandavas. But still, through his conch shell, he wanted to make sure that as a duty, um, you know his duty was to fight, and he will try to do his best, right? So these were some of the important points from this verse. The next verse, which is 1.13, it is said, after that the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous, right? So after Bhishma Pitama blew his conch shell, rest of the Kauravas also blew their respective instruments. And then, what happened? We'll see in verse 14. Someone will like to recite this, whatever, like, even if you are not very fluent, that's fine, it is always good if you can.
Swamiji, I will recite this.
Thank you very much, Shanmukji. Yeah, please.
Hare Krishna. ततः श्वेतैर्यहैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवाः पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः.
Very good. Thank you very much, Shanmukji. Will someone also read the translation?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells.
Right. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Masa. So uh, there are few important points from this verse also. Now, one thing which I want to share with all of you, sometimes devotees and people who are new to spiritual life, and specifically new to reading scriptures in English, they generally ask, what is the meaning of word transcendental, right? And here, actually, the Sanskrit word is divya, right? Divya is translated in English as transcendental, right? Now, transcendental basically means something which is spiritual, something which is not material, which has nothing to do with the material nature or material world, right? And anything and everything which is associated with the supreme personality of Godhead, which is Krishna, has to be transcendental, right? Because Krishna is transcendental, Krishna is Divya, right? So, for example, prasad, we eat, right? The offered food is known as prasad, right? So that food which is has been offered to Krishna becomes transcendental, right? Any work which we are doing as a service to Krishna again becomes transcendental work, right? Any thing which we are speaking about Krishna, for Krishna, glorifying Krishna, right, again becomes transcendental, right? Pastimes of Krishna are transcendental. So anything and everything which is connected with Krishna becomes transcendental, divya. Okay. And here the conch shells of Krishna's are described as transcendental, right? Touched by lips of Krishna. I will share some more information about Krishna's conch shell later uh, in this course. And also, it is not only Krishna's conch shell which is transcendental, even Arjuna has been included as being having transcendental conch shell. Now, why is that? Right? Now, as I told you, food which has been offered to Krishna becomes transcendental. Any service done for Krishna becomes transcendental. And if we are living our life for Krishna's satisfaction, our life in entirety becomes transcendental. And Arjuna is a pure devotee of Krishna, right? We saw how Krishna highlighted in 4th chapter, 3rd verse, that I am reciting, I am speaking this Bhagavad Gita to you because you are my devotee and you are my friend, right? Which is why Arjuna is transcendental as well, and his conch shells also. Okay. Now, the other important thing here is, if you might have noticed, Madhava Pandavascheva. So this Madhava word is for Krishna, right? Krishna, one of the names of Krishna is Madhava. So does anyone know what is the meaning of word Madhava?
I think husband of Lakshmi.
Yes, husband of Lakshmi. Ma means Mother Lakshmi. Dhava means husband, right? So husband of Mother Lakshmi is Krishna, right? So, okay, very good. So let's move on to subsequent verses, which is verse number 15 and 16. In these verses, the different conch shells blown by Krishna and Pandavas have been highlighted, right? Their names. So Krishna's conch shell is Panchajanya, Arjuna's is Devadatta, Bhima's is Pondra, Yudhishthir Maharaj is Anant Vijaya, and Nakul's Sughosha Sahadev Mani Pushpaka. Right now, within ISKCON, we study Bhagavad Gita in very great detail, in great depth, and we encourage their uh, devotees should try to learn these things also. You know, it is actually the first verse which we learned was Man Mana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhya Jimam Namaskaru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktevam huh? Atmana Mat Parayana uh, Pratiyane Priyosi Me. So, uh, in that verse, Man Mana Bhav Mad Bhakto, it is said, Krishna is requesting that always think of me, always remember me, right? Always means 24 hours a day, right? So how can we remember Krishna? So this is actually, you know, when we try to learn these verses, try to read scriptures, try to do this, and please try to understand, remembering Krishna does not mean that we have to leave our responsibilities towards our family members or towards society. Actually, Arjuna wanted to run away from his responsibility of fighting. And the entire Bhagavad Gita was spoken to highlight the fact that we should not be running away from our responsibility, but we should be doing our responsibility for the family, for the society, community, nation, but keeping Krishna in the center. So that is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, right? Here in these verses, Krishna has been named as Rishikesha. Rishikesha means someone who is owner of all senses, not only his, all the senses. Like he is the owner, he is the controller of all the senses, right? And specifically, he directs senses of living entities in accordance with their surrender to him. So there is a verse in the 4th chapter, 11th verse. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tate vayamaham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. In that, Krishna is highlighting that as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly, and everyone follows my path in all respects. So, as we surrender unto Krishna, Krishna's reciprocation will be according. Now, here, Arjuna is a devotee of Krishna, and Arjun is actually surrendering unto Krishna. So, here, Krishna actually is going to control the senses of Arjuna and utilize him for his service, right? Now, the other important name here is for Arjuna, they have used Dhananjaya, right? Now, again, I want to highlight this fact that in the slides which I share, in the comments of those slides, most of the details which I am speaking will be there. So you can always refer and you can use these slides in your own preaching efforts, right? So you may be, teaching someone else, because Krishna wants that this message should be known to everyone. So these slides and recording, I just keep as much information in the comment section as much possible, right? So that you people can use it in future, right? So Dhananjaya is specifically uh, named for Arjuna because Arjuna fetches wealth for Yudhishthir Maharaj, specifically for conducting sacrifices and all, right? Under the direction of Krishna, once he went to the north Himalayas, and he brought a lot of gold plates from there for Yudhishthir Maharaj to conduct sacrifices, and also when as a Guru Dakshina he bought Drupad to Dronacharya, right? Um, so he could, so Dronacharya got half of the kingdom from Drupad Maharaj, right? So there are many incidences where Arjuna will go out, fight, and bring lot of wealth and offer them to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So that is why he's known as Dhananjaya. Bhima is known as Vrikodara because he was a ferocious eater. And not only that he would eat, but he would also do Herculean task, right? He was also a great devotee of Krishna, right? So these are some of the important facts. Now, Krishna's conch shell is known as Panchajanya, right? Now the conch in Hindi is known as Shankha. In Sanskrit, it is known as Shankha, Shankhavadam. We saw in these verses, right? Now this Shankha, from where has this name come? Actually, once upon a time, there was a demon known as Shankashura. He he fought with the demigods and stole all the Vedas and went deep into the ocean. And then um, Bhagavan has to come in the incarnation of Matsya. Matsya avatar, does anyone want to share what was the form of Matsya avatar? He came in the form of
Fish.
Fish.
fish. है ना? He came in form of fish so that he can go deep in the water and fetch the Vedas. So he went there, he killed Shankashura, and from the bone from his ear, he took out that bone, which was in the form of a conch, shankha, uh, and he blew that. So the when you blow a conch, the sound of Om comes out, right? And from that blowing of conch, actually all the Vedas came out, right? Which is why uh, this is known as Shankha, Shankha. Okay, and also there is a story why Krishna, the Vishnu Shankha, is known as Panchajanya, right? Um, because when Krishna Balram uh, were studying under Sandipni Muni in Gurukula, uh, after the studies were completed, Krishna Balram, as was the tradition, they would ask, how can we serve you, right? As a Guru Dakshina, what can we do for you, Guru Maharaj? And so Sandipni Muri actually not that he was, he was materially attached or something, but because he wanted to glorify Krishna and Balram, that they can do anything. Because there are many demonic people like Duryodhan in this world, who will question supremacy of Krishna, the way Duryodhana would always question. So Sandipni Muni herein wanted to glorify Krishna. So he on that pretext, he said, okay, my son was drowned in the ocean in Prabhashetra, can you bring him back? Now this is something very unusual for a normal person, because sometimes people, they will not follow Krishna's advice, they will not follow Shiva's advice, but they will like to imitate them, right? Doing all the nonsense. So if you want to really imitate Krishna, then lift Govardhan Parvat. If you want to imitate Krishna, then do this task which was given by Sandipni Muni, right? So we should never imitate Krishna. We should follow the instructions of Krishna as given in Bhagavad Gita, right? Which is a instruction manual for the entire humanity, right? Then Krishna and Balram went to Prabhashetra, and then they called, the ocean personified, and he came and he paid obeisances, uh, and he said, actually, I don't have Sandipni Muni's son. It was taken by uh, a demon known as Panchajanya, right? So, and it is in the form of a conch shell, right? And he the I probably think that the son of Sandipni Muni must be in his belly. So Krishna, he went into the ocean and he killed that demon Panchajanya, and but he could not find in his belly his um, his teachers, his guru's son. So he brought that, the body of that Panchajanya, which was in the form of a conch, and then it it became Krishna's conch shell, Panchajanya, right? Uh, Now and thereafter, Krishna Balram went to meet Yamaraj, in at his place. I'm sorry, like there was a electricity has gone. They went to his. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They went to the place Samyamani, where Yamraj resides, and Krish Balram brought his son back, right? So that was the story of how Conch, and this came to be called as Conch. So okay, let me switch on this. Just give me a second so that we see it. So, okay, now you can see, right? I'll change the settings. Okay, good. So this was the story of the Shankha, and specifically Panchajanya, right? Uh, so the entire story is there in the comment section. So if in your leisure you can go through that again. Thereafter in verses 70 to 18, it said, someone will like to read this?
Number 15, sir.
Yeah, this 17 and 18 you can read.
Oh, sir.
Just move it. Okay. Shirisha ji, you can just read the translation. We don't have the verses.
Okay, I will read the verse if you
Yeah.
want.
Oh, sure.
I will,
Go, please go ahead.
I will try to read,
Yeah.
but if any mistakes come, please.
That's fine.
Yeah. कास्यश्च परमेश्वासः सिकण्डी च महारथः दृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकिश्च पराजितः. And 18th verse.
Mhm.
द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः शङ्कान् ददुद्मः पृथक् पृथक्.
Very good. Great. Thank you. Will you also read the translation, or if there is any other child, any kid who would like to read the translation? Okay, Shirisha, you can please go ahead.
Yeah. The great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi and others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells.
Right. So after Krishna blew his conch shell, Arjuna, Pandavas blew, all the other important warriors, they blew their respective conch shells, right? Now, the important thing here also is that who blew the conch shell from Kaurava's side first? It was
Bhishma
Bhishma,
Pitamaha.
Bhishma.
right?
Yeah.
And from Pandava's side, who was the one who blew it?
Krishna.
Krishna. So everyone in the Pandava side knew that Krishna is the most important personality. Although someone else can be the commander in chief, XYZ, the most, powerful person, whatever. But everyone in Pandava side knew Krishna is the most important personality on our side. Only Durbuddhi Duryodhana would not understand the importance of Krishna, while the devotees will always understand the importance of Krishna, and they will always, try to follow, right? So I'll move on to the subsequent verse. um, Anyone will like to read this verse? Someone who has not spoken yet, I would really encourage all of you to please come up, try to read. I want to give opportunity to others also, Sirisha ji. And if no one else comes up, then definitely.
Actually, my friend, I sent a link to my friend Sureka. She
Uh-huh.
can read actually.
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
She's a,
Oh yeah, she's there. If she can read, yeah.
Can I read?
Yes, please go ahead.
yes.
Yeah.
अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तीपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सह देवश्च सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ.
Right. If you can please read the 19th verse also, which we are reflecting on the screen.
19.
Yeah.
You mean verse 19?
Yeah, verse 19. Yeah. First.
सघोषोधार्तराष्ट्राणां हृदयानि व्यधारयत् नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव तुमुलो व्यनुनादयन्.
Wow, you all people can recite so well. Like today, I was just discussing with Shanmukh that he has to teach me how to recite these verses so melodiously. So you all people are really great. Someone will read the translation of this verse, of the 19th verse. I think so. Today we will only be able to do this section. Yeah. So who was that?
It was me.
Yeah, Harshita, please go ahead. Yeah.
The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious,
Right.
vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It
Right.
shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra.
Right. So when basically Kauravas blew conch shell, nothing happened to Pandava side, right? But when Pandavas or they blew their conch shells, Duryodhana side, their hearts were breaking, right? hearing the conch shells blown by Pandava side. So the important point here highlighted is then one who is on the side of religiosity, spirituality, on the side of Krishna, they have nothing to fear in their life, right? Even if they are in the midst of greatest calamity, they know Krishna will be with them and Krishna will help them overcome these things, right? So that is very important. Now, there are a few learnings from these verses which I want to share. Now, these verses in this section, basically, from 12 to 19, they reflect um, uh, that how um, Pandavas uh, are going to be victorious, right? And all these people who were at the side of Duryodhana, we already saw in verse number 19 that their hearts were disheartened, their hearts were shattered, right? Seeing the unexpected arrangement of military force of Pandavas, right? Who were guided by Krishna himself. And there is one more important thing which will come in the subsequent verses, that even Hanumanji was with Pandavas, right? Now, Kapidhwaja, that word is there. Hanumanji was sitting on the flag on the chariot of Arjuna, right? And he said that I will give the war cry, right? Now, if Hanumanji is there, right? Hanumanji was the one who helped Rama overcome the army of Ravana, and he helped him. And here with Arjuna, if Hanumanji and Ram both are there, along with Mother Lakshmi, right? Madhava. So wherever Madhava is there, Mother Lakshmi is also there. So whenever all these three are there, the third most important and the fourth most important thing they had was, Arjuna and Pandavas had, was the battlefield of Kurukshetra itself, right? It was very pious. So in essence, Pandavas had the holy environment. They had presence of Lord Krishna. They were blessed with fortune of Mother Lakshmi, right? And they had presence of Hanumanji, who was a great devotee. Now, what is the take home message for all of us from these verses? Because we have to understand that this is not a theoretical exercise, right? If we just try to cram these verses, right, just try to understand, even try to understand, but learning, understanding, if not followed by implementation, then we are failing ourselves. Then it is of no good. you know uh, it is like licking the honey bottle from outside and not you know opening it and drinking the honey. It will be something like that. So we actually have to implement these learnings in our day-to-day life, right? So how can we translate all these signs of victory in our life, right? So when it comes to holy environment, you know we have to create our auspiciousness in our homes. And how can we create auspiciousness? How can we create that environment, that facility in which we can always feel support of Krishna? We can do that by establishing regular worship of Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, Sita Ram, Lakshman Hanuman, right? If we, so we, within ISKCON, we follow a very regular schedule in which, in morning, we will try to do regular worship, like, we will chant our rounds, chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then we will do Aarti. We have our deities, right? Gaur Nitai, Gopal, Radha Krishna, Krishna Balram, Sita Ram, whoever we. If you don't have deities, we can keep photograph, right? We can keep painting, and you should offer Aarti, regular worship, by blowing conch shell, right? Offering incense, Deepak, some cloth, flowers, all these things. You know, I will send you one link in which you can understand. But this whole worship thing creates auspiciousness, right? So we should try to do that. Chanting the names of Lord, there is nothing more important than chanting the names of Lord. As I shared with you, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chanting the names of Krishna is the most important thing, and that will also bring auspiciousness. Keep your home clean, right? Cleanliness is next to godliness, right? And you know and if we follow all these things, our home will be filled with positive vibration. So this is how we can create positive environment. And we also discussed that how we can bring blessings of Krishna and Radharani, or Lakshmi and Narayan, right? But at the same time, we should be careful about one thing, right? Because somehow, unfortunately, the wrong things have been said in Hindu tradition, unfortunately. um, you know and if you analyze, that actually is mentality of Ravana or Duryodhana. We should never separately try to worship Lakshmi ji. Lakshmi ji should always be worshipped along with Narayana. Now, one of the names of Lakshmi is Chanchala, and which is why we call Chanchalapati as Narayan. One of the names of Narayan is Chanchalapati. Now, Lakshmi ji is Chanchala because she is flickering. She will not stay at one place, but she will always stay at a place where Narayana is there. So if you will worship Narayana, Lakshmi ji will always be there. And people who try to worship Lakshmi ji separately or independent of Narayan is like said to be Ravana mentality, because Ravana wanted to enjoy Lakshmi, Sita Mata, independent of Ram. She wanted to take away Lakshmi, right? He wanted to enjoy Lakshmi for his own sense gratification. So the Lakshmi we see in this world, right, is actually representative of Mother Lakshmi, right? And we should always keep Lakshmi with Krishna. So Lakshmi ji should always be offered for Krishna, right, along with Krishna. Also Duryodhana, last time we shared this story where when Arjuna and Duryodhana went to take help of Krishna, Arjuna asked for Krishna's help regardless of he lifts weapon or not. But Duryodhana was very happy not to get Narayan but to get Narayani Sena, right? So again, Duryodhana mentality or Ravana mentality, we should try to avoid those things. We should always keep Lakshmi ji worship along with Narayan, right? Right. So it is said, one who chases fortune may or may not get it, but one who follows Lord will get everything what is needed, right? And the third thing is, how can we get Hanumanji in our life? Huh? Hanumanji is a devotee of Krishna, right? So we should try to keep in association of good people. Like I am seeing here that all you people like Surekha ji, Padma ji, Shirishi ji, right? And then we have Rajesh ji and Sharmukh ji, all good friends, right? And we are seeing here like, Nikita, Ishwara, Harshad, all of us are good friends. So if we keep in the company of good friends, right, who are devotees, right, then it will be very helpful for us, because devotees, they are pure in heart, right? And they are selfless. They are never going to exploit you. This world is very difficult, so it is very rare to get good friends, huh? And you should try to make friendship with devotees friend. It is said, show me your friends and I can tell you who you are, right? So yeah. Now, the important thing which I have been sharing in the introductory session, that in different yugas there were different yuga dharma, right? And there is a verse, krate yadhyayato vishnu tretayam yajito makhe dwapare paricharyayam kalo tadhari kirtanat. So this verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 3rd chapter, 52nd verse, Will anyone like to read this verse?
I'll read it.
Yeah, thank you.
Whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Tritaya Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapara Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Kalo tadhari kirtanat. Thank you, Masa. So it is said that for achieving Vishnu, for achieving love of Vishnu in different yugas, there were different processes. Primary process was different in different yugas, right? So in Satyuga, it was meditation. In Treta Yuga, it was fire sacrifice. We saw Ram Bhagwan went to forest and he saw various rishis doing fire sacrifice. In a Dwapara, it was deity worship, right? In a Kali Yuga, Kalo Tadhari Kirtanat. The main thing is chanting the names of Lord Hari, right? And of the names of Lord Hari, it is mentioned in our Shruti scriptures, Upanishad, Kali Shantrana Upanishad, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Sodakshak Namanam, Kali Kalmasha Nashnam, Nata Parantaropaya, Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. Someone will like to read the translation?
I will go, Sumit.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Anvi.
Anvi, you want to read?
No, you go ahead.
Anvi, you can read it, no problem. Go ahead.
These 60 names composed of 32 syllables are the only means to counteract the evil effects of Kali Yuga. In all the Vedas, it is seen that to cross the ocean of nescience, there is no alternative to the chanting of the holy name.
Anvi, why didn't you read the mantra? Because mantra is also part of the translation.
I'll do
Huh?
now.
Okay,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
thank you very much, Anvi. I want to share with all of you that this little girl, she is 8 years old and she chants 2 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra daily. So she's very intelligent. She also likes to study Gita. She's also learning verses. So thank you very much, Anvi. So in this is basically a conversation between Brahmaji and Narada Muni, right? And here Brahmaji specifically says, they were discussing that how can we help people of Kali Yuga and all that. And it is said that, these 16 names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. These 16 names composed of 32 syllables are the only means to counteract the evil effects of Kali Yuga. In all the Vedas, it is seen that to cross the ocean of nescience, this samsara, there is no alternate than to chanting the holy names, right? And in Padma Puran, it is said, Nam Chinta Mani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Bhinnantam Nama Namina. Someone will read the translation. Harshad, you can read.
Sure, Sumit.
Thank you.
The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental melodies. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name Krishna and Krishna himself are identical.
Wow, thank you very much, Harsha. Thank you. So this verse is very important, and this verse was often quoted by Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So Nama Chinta Mani Krishna. So Krishna's name is like a touchstone, right? It is transcendently blissful. Now, and then Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, it is full in itself, with full of transcendental mellows. So it is reservoir of all pleasure, and it is Purna Shuddho. It is transcendentally pure and Nitya Mukto. It's not um, affected by any material thing. It is pure, right? It is liberated, is in terminology sense. Abhinnatvam nama namina. There is no difference between Krishna and his name. Abhinnatvam nama namina. No difference between nam and namina. For example, if I'm sitting here in Bangalore, I'm calling Harshad, who is in Pune. Can Harshad come if I call Harshad? Can he come to Bangalore? No, because the name is different from the person, Harshad, right? But for Krishna, who is absolute truth, there is no difference between his name and himself. Abhinnatvam nama namina. So this verse is very important. Uh, Now we are actually short of time because it's already 5:30, 5:28. We have just 2 minutes left. So I will share one story next time about there is a very important pastime. Or let me try in 2 minutes. I will try to cover. There was a Brahmana, great worshipper of Lord Shiva, and he was a devotee of Lord Shiva. And once Shivji came in front of him and said, what do you want? I want something, something great, something you know very which can really help me with everything, with all my problems and thing. Then Shivji told him, okay, you go to one devotee, Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami actually is one of the six primary Goswamis of who were disciples of Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this Brahmana went to Sanatan Goswami and said, I want something great from you, something important. And Sanatan Goswami, being a transcendentalist, he understood. So he said, I have a touchstone, I have a Chintamani, and that touchstone is lying there in the midst of garbage. And this touchstone, if you touch any iron, it will turn into gold. And that Brahmana was so happy. And then, he took it and he thanked Sanatan Goswami, and then he was running back. And as he was going towards his house, towards his home, he contemplated on what happened. He said that this Sanatan Goswami, why did he keep this touchstone in garbage? If it was so important, then he would have kept it in some safe place. Why did he keep it in such a filthy place? Then he thought that there must be something more important which he might have. So that Brahmana thought I should go back to him and ask. And he went back. Sanatan Goswami said, I do have something more important, but I will only give it to you when you throw this touchstone in Yamuna river. Then Brahmana went and he threw the touchstone in Yamuna. And then when he came back, Sanatan Goswami initiated him in the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because this name is not different from Krishna. The name has everything. It is Chintamani. Nama Chintamani Krishna. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto. Abhinnatam Nama Namena. So our request to all of you is to please, you know, start chanting the names of Krishna in form of the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. It will not only bring auspiciousness, it will not only bring success, but it will bring transcendence in your life. It will, really take us back to our home, back to Vakunta Golok Vrindavan, right? And that is the only means to take us to cross over this ocean of nescience, right? So we within ISKCON we are chanting 16 rounds daily, right? It takes around about 2 hours. So we request all of you to start chanting this mantra, right? This is really going to help all of you. Now in the interest of time, we will not chant today. Otherwise, last time we chanted, I will just chant one time and end the session. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Just want to open the session if someone has some important questions. Others, I don't want to hold you up. If you are getting late for some other appointment, something, you can please go. Others, if you have any other some question, you can ask.
Sumit, I have one question.
Yeah, please go
Uh,
ahead, Harsh.
so during our last session, we compared the Krishna's thought process with regards to the farmer and the weeds
Hmm.
in the farm, basically.
Hmm.
So I understand, Krishna wanted to get rid of, the weeds, or the thought process of, people who are like weeds, basically.
Hmm.
But I just wanted to understand, there were, plenty of people on both sides.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, they were also killed.
Hmm.
People like, Pitama Bhishma, as well
Hmm.
as Dronacharya,
Hmm.
they were very pious. They were
Hmm.
also devotee of Lord Krishna.
Hmm.
Uh, they were also following their Raj Dharma,
Hmm.
but they were also killed. So, why did Krishna allow this battle to continue, and
Hmm.
allow these people who were devotees of him to
Right.
die?
So, Harshad, uh, all these questions which come in our mind, actually, Arjuna has already asked all these questions to Arjun, to Krishna. And that is why we said, Sarva Upanishada Gava, Dogda Gopala Nandana, uh, uh, Parth Vatsa Sudhir Bhukta, Dugdam Gita Amrita Mahat. So, this Gita Amrit was basically, spoken or sung for Arjuna, but it is meant to be relished by all of us. So Arjuna, in next section, we will see that he says, I am not going to fight because all these people will be killed, right? My friends, my well-wishers, my father, grandfather, everyone will be killed. And you rightly said that there will be some devotees also. Now, Harshad, if on Deepavali, when we were small, right, our parents will bring new clothes for us, right? And then will you become happy?
Yeah,
Why? Because they were new, right? And will you mind giving up your old clothes for those new clothes? So,
maybe. Yeah, now I can, but not
right,
when I was a kid.
right. So that is what Krishna says in second chapter from 2.11 to 2.30. He explains that ultimately everyone will have to leave the body. And what is the problem if you have to shred your old clothes to get the new clothes, right? Bhishma Pitama, we already discussed today that why, because Krishna wanted through his devotee, he would like to always set examples, right? Why Pandavas had more trouble in their life than Duryodhana? Because through his devotees, Krishna want to set examples that even though they had problems, they would always towards the side of religiosity. They will always think how Krishna wants us to behave in this situation. Because if devotees they don't face problem, then for general public, how will we set an example that when we are faced with challenges, when we are faced with problems, how do we manage, how do we react, how do we you know handle those things, right? Which is why Krishna would give all these things also to devotees. And Prabhupada was asked by a journalist in UK, that what you are doing, preaching and all this, why don't you go back to your country and help people, that there is so high death rate, people die and all. So Prabhupada said, death rate is 100% in India and it is 100% in UK also. Everyone is going to die, right? So everyone has to die at a certain point of time. And Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama, actually, because of the pastime in a Mahabharata, if you saw that they didn't speak a word when Draupadi was being disrobed, right?
Mm.
So they had done that was a great offense they did because of certain obligations, right? So which is why we discussed today that however valorous or virtuous you are, but if you are on the side of irreligion, then you will be vanished, right? So through Bhishma, through Drona, Krishna wants to set that example, right? So does that help, Harshad?
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Is there any other question? Okay. Then we will end today's session. Thanks all of you for participating. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
तो मैं आपको भी नहीं काटना पड़ती, पर अपने नहीं काटना होता।